The great council chamber floated silently in the void, a massive structure orbiting a blue-white star. Its walls shimmered with strange lights, reflecting off thousands of alien faces gathered for the Galactic Council's monthly session. Each representative had traveled light years to reach this chamber, and the air was thick with tension, pride, and ambition. Some of the delegates' forms were familiar to humans through interstellar communications, tall and elegant beings with translucent skin, others short and armored, some resembling floating spheres with blinking lights, but most were alien enough to make a human uneasy. Among this sea of foreign shapes and languages, one figure walked with steady confidence. Ilara Voss, the human diplomat, representing Earth. Her black suit was plain by galactic standards, lacking the embellishments and glowing insignias many aliens favored, but she wore it with a calm authority that drew eyes without her trying. For the first time, humanity had a seat at the council, and she was determined to make it count. Diplomat Voss, a small, chittering alien named Kurthok, greeted her in a language that sounded like static electricity. "You carry your species' first vote. Do not falter." Ilara smiled faintly, bowing in the manner customary for humans, simple but respectful. "I intend to do what is right," she said. Her voice was steady, betraying none of the nervous excitement she felt. As she walked toward the chamber's main floor, her eyes scanned the delegates. She noticed a familiar pattern among the older, more established species. Their eyes were sharp, always calculating, searching for weakness. They whispered behind the backs of colleagues, exchanging glances filled with unspoken promises and threats. She had read about this behavior in reports. This was political maneuvering on a scale humans had never experienced. Some species had ruled sectors of the galaxy for centuries. They did not trust easily, and they certainly did not value honesty. Ilara knew humans were young in the cosmic political scene. Earth had only recently achieved interstellar travel and joined the Council, and many expected humans to be timid, malleable, and easy to manipulate. Many aliens assumed humans would compromise to survive, bending to their will. But Ilara had observed humans for decades. She had seen how humanity survived wars, plagues, and countless disasters, not by deceit or trickery, but by courage, creativity, and sheer determination. She knew humanity's strength was not in subterfuge but in principles, in honesty, and in the courage to stand for what was right, even when facing impossible odds. The chamber doors opened, revealing the council's main floor. Delegates began to take their seats, the arrangement based on rank, influence, and sector control. At the center sat the High Counselor, an enormous being named Tarek Solon, whose forearms folded elegantly as he watched the room. His voice boomed in perfect galactic common, echoing against the chamber walls. "Delegates," Tarek began, "welcome to this session of the Galactic Council. Today, we address matters of trade, resource allocation, and the upcoming territorial expansions. Let all voices be heard, and may wisdom guide our decisions." Ilara took a deep breath and took her assigned seat. She noted immediately how the other delegates glanced at her. Some were curious, some amused, and some openly skeptical. A human? Representing an entire planet? Some even seemed to smirk, as if they expected her to be naive. Minutes passed as the council began routine discussions. Trade routes were debated. Minor disputes resolved. Then came the moment she had been prepared for: the negotiation over Earth's newly discovered energy resource. A rare crystalline substance capable of producing vast amounts of clean energy. The session fell silent as an alien ambassador named Zyrak Vel, from the Korthak sector, approached the podium. Zyrak was tall and thin, with skin like polished onyx, and eyes that glowed faintly in dim light. "Earth has recently entered our council," she said, her voice melodic but edged with condescension. "They possess a resource that could benefit all council members. It is only logical that humans share it freely, for the greater good of the galaxy." Whispers rippled through the chamber. Many delegates nodded in agreement, The unspoken message was clear. Earth was expected to comply, without protest. Elara rose to speak. The room quieted instantly. She held her head high, her posture calm. Her voice, though soft, carried clearly across the chamber. "Counselor Zyrak, members of the Galactic Council," she began. "Earth is honored to join your assembly. We wish for cooperation, not conflict. However, no planet should be expected to give its resources freely without fair consideration and mutual benefit. Humanity values honesty and fairness. We will not agree to treaties that exploit our people or our planet." The words were simple, but they struck like thunder. The chamber erupted into murmurs. Zyrak's glowing eyes narrowed. "Surely you understand the nature of our council. All members must contribute. Earth, being new and inexperienced, should comply with guidance from older members." Elara's expression remained steady. "Experience is not a measure of right or wrong. Humanity has survived through hardship by making difficult choices based on principles, not just precedent. We intend to protect our people and our resources. We seek partnerships built on fairness, not coercion." Several delegates gasped. Others whispered in shock. Some leaned forward, intrigued. A few looked annoyed, some even offended. It was clear. Humans did not behave like any species they had known. Zyrak's voice rose, sharp and tense. "You cannot simply refuse. The Council has rules, traditions, and expectations. And we have the right to protect our sovereignty," Elara replied calmly. "We respect the Council's rules, but we will not accept agreements that harm our people or force us into unfair compromises. Earth will join the galaxy as a partner, not as a subject." A low hum of murmurs filled the chamber. Delegates from smaller sectors began nodding subtly. They had long resented the domination of older, more powerful species. Some had secretly hoped for a shift in council dynamics, and here it was, a human challenging the norms with clarity and courage. Tarek Solon raised his massive hands, restoring silence. "Diplomat Voss," he said, his voice steady but tinged with curiosity. "Your words are unexpected. Few species have the courage to stand against the Council's expectations so directly. Tell us, what does humanity hope to achieve?" Number 1. Elara paused, choosing her words carefully. "We hope for cooperation, respect, and honesty. We do not seek to dominate, nor do we intend to be dominated. We believe that mutual benefit, trust, and integrity can achieve what coercion and manipulation never could." Her words were met with a mixture of reactions. Some delegates leaned back in surprise, while others exchanged doubtful glances. Yet even those who doubted could not deny the power of her sincerity. After a tense pause, Zyrak's voice returned, sharper than before. "You threaten to disrupt the balance of our council, human. Do you understand the consequences of such defiance?" Elara's eyes met Zyrak's. "I understand. We are prepared to face them. But history has shown that alliances built on fear crumble faster than those built on trust. Humanity will act with integrity, even when it is risky. We will not compromise our principles for temporary approval or convenience." The room fell silent. Even the high counselors murmured among themselves. It was rare, almost unheard of, for a new species to confront the council so openly and with such calm confidence. Many delegates had spent centuries negotiating, scheming, and maneuvering. Humans, it seemed, played a different game entirely. As the session continued, Elara observed more closely the council's politics. She noticed alliances forming in whispers, subtle gestures of intimidation, and quiet attempts to pressure her through peer influence. But she remained composed. Every gesture she made, every word she spoke, carried the weight of human determination. By the end of the first day, a subtle change had begun. Some of the smaller or mid-tier delegates, who had been wary of the older species, began to look at Earth differently. Here was a species that did not bend, that did not fear, that relied on honesty and courage. Some whispered to each other that perhaps humans could be allies, and their approach might be more effective than any other species had dared. Ilara returned to her quarters after the long session. She looked out through the observation window at the swirling stars and distant planets. The galaxy was vast, filled with countless species, each with their own ambitions. The task ahead was daunting: to protect Earth, navigate alien politics, and build alliances without compromising principles. Yet, as she gazed into the infinite cosmos, a sense of quiet confidence settled over her. Humanity had faced impossible odds before, and survived. This was just another challenge, another stage for humans to demonstrate resilience, courage, and integrity. Ilara allowed herself a small smile. Tomorrow, the council would reconvene, and she would face them again. She did not fear the reactions, the skepticism, or the challenges. Humans had something few species truly understood: the strength of principle, and the courage to stand for it, no matter the consequences. Outside, the council chamber glowed under the distant star, and across the galaxy, whispers began to spread. The humans have arrived, and they are unlike anything we have seen before. The next day, the Galactic Council reconvened in the massive chamber. The energy in the room was different this time, charged, tense, almost electric. Word had spread overnight of the human diplomat's refusal to comply with Zyrek Vel's demands. Across the galaxy, species whispered that Earth had dared something unimaginable. A young planet standing firm against centuries of political tradition. Ilara Voss entered the chamber with her usual calm confidence. Her suit was crisp, her posture perfect, her expression composed. Yet inside, her mind raced. She had anticipated resistance, perhaps even anger, but she had not underestimated the importance of staying steady. Humans had a gift: the ability to adapt, to think clearly under pressure, and to act based on principle. Today, she would show the Council that humanity's courage was not a bluff. As she approached her seat, Zyrak's cold eyes locked onto hers. The ambassador's smile was thin and forced, a mask for something deeper: frustration, perhaps even fear. "Human," Zyrak said softly, enough for only Ilara to hear. "You have made a grave mistake. You will regret this defiance." Ilara did not flinch. "I understand the risks," she replied simply, her voice firm. "But some principles are worth facing consequences for." The session began, and Tarek Solin's booming voice commanded attention. "Delegates, let us proceed. Earth has brought forward new positions. Diplomat, Voss, you may speak." Ilara rose. Every delegate's eyes followed her. Some leaned forward in anticipation, others in disbelief. This was unprecedented. Most species presented long, calculated speeches designed to appease or manipulate. But Ilara had prepared nothing but truth and logic. She began, "Members of the Galactic Council, I am here not to disrupt, but to speak honestly. Earth possesses resources that are valuable not only to our planet, but potentially to many others. We wish to share knowledge, technology, and cooperation. But we will not allow our planet, or our people, to be exploited under the guise of unity or tradition. Humanity believes in fairness, in honesty, and in respect for others. We cannot compromise these values for temporary approval or political convenience." A murmur spread through the chamber. Delegates glanced at one another. Some astonished, others outraged. Few had heard words so direct and unyielding in council history. Zyrak stepped forward, her forearms gesturing dramatically. "You speak of fairness, human. Yet you ignore the rules that have governed this council for centuries. All members contribute according to their capacity. No planet is exempt. You are young, inexperienced, and your defiance could destabilize the galaxy." Ilara's voice did not waver. Experience is not a guarantee of wisdom. Just because something has been done for centuries does not mean it is right. Humans have faced impossible odds and survived not by following rules blindly, but by thinking, acting, and standing for what is just. If the Council seeks respect, it must earn it through fairness, not intimidation. Several delegates shifted uncomfortably. Even some of the older species who thrived on manipulation were taken aback. They had never encountered a species that could speak with such calm clarity, even under pressure. Tarek Solon interjected, his tone curious rather than angry. Diplomat Voss, your words are unusual. You suggest that the Council has failed in fairness. Can you propose a solution that satisfies both Earth and the established powers? Alara nodded. Yes. Let negotiations begin on the basis of mutual benefit. Let us determine the value of resources through open discussion and equal partnership. Let no species be coerced. And let every decision be transparent. Earth is willing to share, but only when agreements are fair and sustainable. Anything else is unacceptable. The chamber erupted into debate. Zyrak's supporters argued fiercely that humans were naive, threatening centuries of balance. Other species whispered among themselves, intrigued. They had grown tired of political games and were quietly impressed by the human diplomat's courage. One smaller species, the Trellics, a hive-minded group resembling giant floating insects, leaned toward the podium. Their leader, Zelthar, spoke in clicks and chirps, translated into Galactic Common. Human words ring true. Too long has the Council favored the powerful. Perhaps it is time a new approach is considered. A ripple of agreement ran through delegates from mid-tier sectors. Some older species frowned, irritated by the disruption. Yet the idea was gaining traction. Humans were not a weak, pliable species. They were principled, brave, and willing to challenge the status quo. Zyrak's voice rose, sharp with anger. You think your honesty shields you from consequences, human? The Council has ways to enforce compliance. You will find Earth isolated, vulnerable, and disregarded if you continue this path. Alara met her gaze steadily. Isolation is not a threat. Humanity has faced adversity for centuries, survived famine, war, and plague. We will survive the galaxy's challenges as well. But exploitation and coercion are not options for cooperation. Earth will act with integrity. That is our strength. For a moment, silence reigned. Even the Council's most vocal members paused, weighing her words. The boldness of the human diplomat had shaken them, if only slightly. Then, unexpectedly, several delegates began nodding subtly. Quiet conversations broke out among smaller and mid-tier species. They had long felt oppressed or ignored by the dominant factions of the Council. Here was a new possibility. Alliances not built on fear or manipulation, but on respect, honesty, and principle. Alara noticed the subtle shift. She allowed herself the smallest hint of a smile. Humans had a reputation for unexpected resilience, and that reputation was beginning to take hold. Tarek Solon raised his voice again. Enough. Let all delegates consider the points raised. Humanity presents a unique perspective. While their approach is unorthodox, it may hold value. The session continued, with debates and discussions. But the atmosphere had changed. Delegates no longer treated Earth as a mere newcomer, to be guided or manipulated. They listened, some with skepticism, others with genuine curiosity. Humans had not only spoken truthfully, they had changed the tone of the Council. Later, in a private Council corridor, Alara met with several smaller species representatives. They approached cautiously, some whispering, some nodding in respect. Your words yesterday, Zelthar of the Trellics said, were not only brave, they were wise. You speak differently than others, human. We are tired of manipulation. Perhaps your planet can teach the Council something important. Alara bowed slightly. Thank you. Humanity hopes for partnership, not dominance. We believe that collaboration, respect, and honesty create stronger bonds than fear ever could. Other delegates joined the conversation, cautiously optimistic. By the end of the day, what began as defiance had transformed into a ripple of possibility. Earth's voice, once dismissed, was now recognized as influential. That night, in her quarters, Alara reflected on the day's events. The Council had tried to intimidate her, to force humanity into compliance. But she had stood firm, relying not on weapons, not on trickery, but on integrity. And it had worked, at least partially. Some species were willing to consider a new approach. Yet she knew the challenge was far from over. Powerful factions would not accept this easily. Vel and her allies would seek ways to pressure or manipulate humanity. Some might even attempt retaliation. The galaxy was vast, and not all species valued honesty over advantage. Still, Alara felt a quiet sense of hope. Humanity's strength was not in deception or cunning. It was in courage, integrity, and the willingness to act for the greater good. These were qualities that could survive even the most dangerous politics. Across the galaxy, whispers spread. Humans were unpredictable, brave, and principled. Diplomats, who had once dismissed Earth as inexperienced, now reconsidered. Some saw an opportunity for genuine alliance. Others feared a new power rising, one that would not bow to manipulation or tradition. Alara knew this was only the beginning. The council sessions would continue. Negotiations would grow more complex. And some factions would test Earth's resolve. But humanity had made its mark. Humans had shown they could confront centuries-old politics and stand firm on principle. And as the stars glimmered outside her quarters, Alara allowed herself a thought that few in the galaxy dared. Humanity might not just survive among the stars. They might shape them. Tomorrow, the council would reconvene, and the real test would begin. Would the council accept Earth's terms? Would other species follow humanity's example? Or would the more powerful factions push back, seeking to reassert control? Alara did not fear the answers. Humans had always faced impossible odds and had prevailed. The courage to stand firm, she knew, was more powerful than fear or intimidation. And so, with calm determination, she prepared for the next day. The council had been shocked once, but humanity was ready to shock them again, if necessary. Because humans did not bend easily. Humans did not compromise their principles. And humans, above all, had a strength that the galaxy was only beginning to understand. The whispers would grow louder. The council would take notice. And the galaxy, for the first time in centuries, would glimpse what humans were truly capable of. The council chamber was quieter than usual that morning. The usual hum of chatter and subtle scheming was muted, replaced by a tense anticipation. Word of humanity's bold defiance had spread quickly through the galaxy. Some delegates were curious, others wary, and a few quietly apprehensive. The events of the previous day had left a mark. The human diplomat had shaken the council. Not with force or clever manipulation, but with honesty and courage. Alara Voss entered the chamber with her usual calm demeanor. She felt no fear, only focus. She knew, today, would test humanity's position further. Powerful factions would attempt to intimidate, persuade, or isolate her. Yet she also knew that allies were forming quietly in the background. Several smaller species had expressed interest in fair negotiations, intrigued by the human approach. Today, she would begin turning these quiet whispers into tangible support. As she approached her seat, the Korthak ambassador Vel met her gaze. Zyrok's aura of anger and controlled threat was palpable, but there was also a glimmer of unease. Humans did not behave predictably. They did not submit or negotiate out of fear. And that unpredictability was becoming a serious problem for the established powers. Tariq Solon, the High Counselor, raised his hands to call the chamber to order. Delegates, we gather once again to continue negotiations. Diplomat Voss, your presence has already influenced discussion. You may speak. Comfirmade. Alara rose. She allowed her eyes to sweep across the room, making sure to meet the gaze of each delegate. Members of the Galactic Council, she began, humanity remains committed to cooperation, fairness, and mutual benefit. Yesterday, I stated that we cannot accept agreements built on coercion or unfair advantage. Today, I offer a path forward. Transparency, collaboration, and equitable partnerships. Any alliance that respects these values can count on Earth as a reliable and honest partner. A murmur ran through the chamber. Some delegates nodded subtly, impressed by the human diplomat's composure and clarity. Others whispered among themselves, uncertain of how to respond. The established powers, accustomed to bending weaker species to their will, were now facing a force that refused to bend. Zyrek stepped forward, her voice measured but sharp. Human, you speak of fairness as though it is simple, but the Council functions on negotiation, compromise, and hierarchy. Your defiance threatens the stability we have maintained for centuries. Do you truly believe that the galaxy will respect a young planet that refuses to comply? Elara's voice was calm, firm, and unwavering. I do not seek blind respect. I seek recognition for fairness and integrity. Humanity has faced impossible odds and survived by standing up for what is right, not by submitting to intimidation. If respect comes from courage and honesty, then yes, we believe the galaxy will recognize it. The chamber erupted into debate. Some delegates argued that humans were reckless, risking isolation and reprisal. Others quietly supported Alara, noting that their own species had long grown tired of manipulative politics. The tension in the chamber was palpable, but humanity's position was beginning to gain legitimacy. Later, in a side corridor, several delegates approached Alara privately. Zelthar, of the Trellix, the hive-minded species, spoke first. Human, your words carry power. Many of us are tired of the manipulations of older species. If Earth can offer cooperation without coercion, we are willing to explore alliances. Alara nodded, her expression calm but thoughtful. Thank you. Humanity seeks partners who value fairness and honesty. We are ready to share knowledge, technology, and resources, but only through agreements that respect all parties. Other delegates joined the conversation, some from mid-tier species that had long been overshadowed by the Council's powerful members. Together, they began discussing tentative agreements and cooperation plans. Humanity's reputation was growing quietly, strategically, like a rising tide. Back in the chamber, Zyrak Vel spoke again, her tone colder now. You may find allies among the smaller species, human, but the dominant powers will not overlook defiance. Your planet will be tested. Alara met her gaze without flinching. We are prepared for testing. Humanity has faced challenges before and has endured. We will face the galaxy with integrity, and we will act for the greater good, even when difficult decisions are required. The Council reconvened for a vote on preliminary agreements. Surprisingly, several smaller and mid-tier species voted in favor of humans' approach to fair negotiations. While the more powerful factions abstained or voted against, the tide was beginning to shift. Humanity was no longer ignored. Humans had become a legitimate voice in the Council. After the session, Alara returned to her quarters to reflect. The day had been long and intense, but it had also been productive. She had faced pressure, threats, and skepticism, yet humanity had gained allies and respect. The galaxy had begun to see humans not as naive newcomers, but as principled participants capable of shaping interstellar politics. That evening, an unexpected visitor arrived. Senara, of the Velians. a species known for their neutrality and wisdom. Synara's translucent, flowing form shimmered in the chamber light as she greeted Alara. "Human diplomat," Synara said. "Your courage has not gone unnoticed. Many delegates admire your honesty, though some fear it. You have changed perceptions in a single session. Earth now has the opportunity to influence the Council in ways few expected." Alara inclined her head. "Thank you. Humanity seeks neither dominance nor vengeance. We want fairness, cooperation, and trust. If others share these values, we are ready to work together." Synara's form rippled, a gesture that indicated agreement. "Then you have allies waiting, human. Use this wisely. The Council is vast, and challenges will come, but you have begun something important." The next day, the Council's dynamics continued to shift. Delegates who had once dismissed Earth as inexperienced now approached with cautious respect. Smaller species began sharing ideas, resources, and strategies with Alara privately. Humanity's influence was subtle but growing steadily. Even Zyrak Vel seemed affected. Though outwardly stern, the ambassador's glare softened slightly when she realized that humans were not intimidated. Each attempt to pressure Earth only highlighted humanity's determination and honesty. For the first time, some in the Council began to reconsider their assumptions. Perhaps strength in the galaxy was not solely measured by power or longevity, but by courage, principle, and the willingness to stand firm. By the end of the Council session, Earth had achieved something remarkable. While not all agreements were finalized, humanity had established its position as a serious, respected participant. The galaxy now understood that humans could not be manipulated or ignored. In the quiet moments after the session, Alara reflected on the journey. Humans had entered the Council as newcomers, expected to comply and follow instructions. Yet through integrity, courage, and clear communication, humanity had changed perceptions. Humans were no longer simply observers. They were participants, capable of shaping outcomes and inspiring change. Even as she considered the challenges ahead, a sense of satisfaction filled her. She knew that stronger tests would come, that some powerful species might attempt retaliation or coercion. Yet she also knew that humans had something unique: the ability to adapt, to think clearly under pressure, and to act decisively with integrity. These qualities had allowed humanity to survive countless challenges throughout history, and they would continue to do so in the galaxy. As she prepared to leave the Council chamber for the final time that day, Alara noticed subtle gestures of respect from delegates across the room. Some nodded, some whispered words of support, and others simply observed quietly, acknowledging the human diplomat's courage. The ripple of influence was undeniable. Across the galaxy, news of the human defiance spread rapidly. Planets, sectors, and species previously unconcerned with Earth now recognized the young planet as a force to be respected. Humans had demonstrated a principle that few species understood fully: integrity, courage, and the willingness to stand firm could change perceptions and alter outcomes. Even in the most complex political landscapes, Alara knew the journey was far from over. The galaxy was vast, with countless challenges, alliances, and conflicts waiting. Yet she also knew that humanity's approach had proven itself. Cooperation without coercion, honesty without manipulation, and courage without fear could reshape galactic politics. As she looked out at the stars from her quarters, Alara allowed herself a small, confident smile. Humanity had arrived in the Council not to bow, not to submit, but to stand proudly, firmly, and honestly. The galaxy would remember this moment. For the first time in centuries, a species had entered the Council and refused to compromise its principles. Humanity's influence had begun, and the galaxy was beginning to understand. Humans were not just survivors. They were shapers, thinkers, and brave participants in the vast cosmic arena. And in the quiet of the observation deck, as the council chamber shimmered beneath distant starlight, Elara made a silent promise. Earth would continue to act with integrity, courage, and fairness. The galaxy would learn to respect humanity, not through fear, not through manipulation, but through the timeless strength of principle and the boldness to act rightly, no matter the odds. Because humans, she knew, had the power to inspire change, shock the old orders, and show the galaxy what true courage could accomplish. The whispers would continue. The alliances would grow, and the council, once rigid and predictable, would never look at humans or the universe the same way again. Humanity had arrived, and the galaxy had taken notice.